Hello world, welcome to Fulani Scientist channel, and on a previous video I discussed the central dogma of biology, how we move from the genetic material DNA, the main guide, to messenger RNA, which is then translated to protein. And that's actually what we see. So you're seeing the proteins that my body was able to make based on my genetic code. Almond's eyes, dark brown skin, and dark, kinky, short hair, and so beautiful long nails. Those are the traits that I inherited from my genetic makeup, my DNA. So science is extremely cool, and I think many of you are not even aware of this, but you're all scientists. You be doing science every day. You just don't even realize it. One of my students inspired me to start this channel, and I tell him how cool science is. I tell him I'm a scientist at the NIH, and I do really cool science, and I try to distill it so that he can understand what I'm doing. On a day-to-day basis, it seems boring, but on the big picture, it is awesome. And it is exciting to be in the lab, probably the only one there, and you have that eureka moment where an experiment has worked and you discover something and you just can't wait to share it with others. So science is cool, and here's why. We can use model organisms to study the central dogma. So from DNA to RNA to protein, or from my cookbook recipe analogy to my recipe for the cupcake, and then to the actual product, the cupcake. So model organisms can be used to help us study model systems. So our respiratory system, our pulmonary system, our cardiovascular system, our nervous system, digestive systems. We learned about all these things using human beings as model systems. We also use mouse as model organisms to study different parts of our systems. And we use frog, xenopus, the eggs of many xenopus species, frog species, have been used to study development. And we probably take this for granted, but every time you have a salad, think about Arabidopsis, which is a plant model system, model organism, and we can learn a lot about the environment and also basic biology using plants. There's a lot of research about how the effect of drought and global warming has by just studying plants. The genes that they express change based on the environment, so we can learn a lot from plants. There's the roundworm. We can use the roundworm to study also development and different biological questions. My second favorite model system is the fruit fly, Drosophila. So if you ever had a ripe banana in your kitchen counter and you see an annoying little fly buzzing around, and then you squat it and you see red, it's not actually blood. Fruit flies do not have blood. They have something called hemolymph. And what you're seeing is the huge pigmented eyes, which are usually red pigment, is smeared across your countertop or whatever it is you smashed my little friend on, and that's what you see as the red. They have these beautiful ommatidia, honeycomb-like structures, and they can see in a very, very unique way. And actually, many and all of these model systems, model organisms, have been used to discover many important biological discoveries. And so it is really, really exciting to work with these model organisms. And the fruit fly is one of the, I think, the big guys, because it is the best model system for genetic screening, genetic tests. If you want to know what this gene does and what these genes do, you knock it out on the fly and then you see the results. And so many Nobel Prizes have been won using the fruit fly as a model organism. And currently, my number one favorite model organism is budding yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae. So yeast are everywhere. If you love wine, grapes, bread, beer, that's my yeast budding. Budding yeast cells are awesome. You can study single molecules inside the yeast cells. You can do live imaging on yeast cells, and you can ask so many different biological questions. And so many different scientists are using this model organism to discover important biological questions using the central dogma as a roadmap. And then there's zebrafish. I worked in the zebrafish lab during my grad school experience, and these creatures are awesome. They're transparent, so you can see inside their developing systems. If you are studying how like some organs like the gut, their like in digestive system works, you can actually see how those forms and what genes are important for those parts. So yeah, zebrafish is also another great model system. And mouse, which are our closest relative, are mostly used to, some people use them to test the efficacy of vaccines, and a lot of mammalian work is done on mouse models. And many people use human cell lines, all which I believe are originated from Henrietta Lacks, who was a patient at Johns Hopkins, and some of her cancer cells were taken for scientific research. And so it is not ironic that the scientific world benefited so much from HeLa cells, from literally riding on the back of a strong Black woman in America. So this is one of the reasons that I strongly believe science is so cool, and we can learn a lot about human systems using these model systems, and we can learn about the model system based on how we see our systems operating. So a lot of cancer research can be studied on the model system, and we can understand how to apply or try different therapeutic drugs on this model system and see how that translates to human health and human research. And so model organisms are awesome for discoveries. Whatever we learn from them can help us change our world and change their world as well. And many of these model organisms have led to Nobel Prize awards. And so vaccines were developed, and one of the creators of the vaccine, Dr. Joseph Salk, was using viruses to test the efficacy of polio vaccine. My sister actually benefited from the polio vaccine. She is a polio survivor. There's the zebrafish, the little fish I talked about earlier, plants. Plants are awesome model system, mouse models, Drosophila for a lot of genetic screens and things like that. And bacteria. Bacteria, you know, we have antibacterial soap, antibacterial everything, but bacteria are also another model system that scientists have been using since the beginning of science. And so I hope, you know, you appreciate the importance of model organisms and how we can use them to understand our world, and how we can use them to develop vaccines and change the world in a positive way and contribute to society's benefit. And so science is cool because you can do so much with it. You don't have to be a scientist who cures cancer, but that's definitely an ideal goal. It's a worthy goal. There's a lot of investment in the National Cancer Institute here at the NIH for researchers to develop therapeutics towards cancer. And so there's a lot of research on that topic. And we have scientists who develop vaccine. When the COVID pandemic hit, Moderna, Pfizer, and others were like rushing into the lab, discovering the best and most effective vaccine for COVID. And so these are all things that were done using model systems and just using the scientific method and the basic tools that scientists can get their hands on to study these questions and to address world problems. And so today, I just wanted to share with you the model organism and the model systems, and why and how scientists use them to address very, very important questions. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to hearing more from viewers and take any suggestions that you may like to learn more about, and I can talk about different topics. So I hope you enjoyed it, and remember, science is cool.